and certainly welcome everyone.
Can you give us a second to go live, Paul? Hang on.
Oh, sorry, Kath.
We're good, I think. Go ahead.
Good. So I'm going to call our meeting to order, and I'm going to call our meeting to order at 7:06. Welcome everybody to Sunrise School Division regular board meeting. 1.2 of our agenda is O Canada, and I think, Stacy, if I'm correct, we have Hazel Ridge School singing O Canada. So please stand if you can do so. Thank you to Hazel Ridge School for doing that. Appreciated. Hopefully, trustees, you've all had the chance to join the meeting. If you haven't, please do so electronically as we move through. And it would help that if I join the right meeting as well myself. So we have 1.3, our treaty acknowledgement, and actually I'm going to read out the treaty acknowledgement, or I'm going to need some help from somebody about reading the treaty acknowledgement. Trustee Pachakowski, can you read out the treaty acknowledgement? Do you have that in front of you?
I do, Chairman. I can read it if you'd like.
Please.
Sure. So we acknowledge the traditional land upon which Sunrise School Division resides as Treaty 1 territory. We honor our partnership with Canada's original peoples and respect the gifts of Indigenous history, culture, and language. We commit to moving forward in partnership with our communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation.
Thank you, Trustee Pachakowski. 2.1 on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. So be it resolved, the board approved the agenda. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by. Someone will have to speak up.
Pachakowski.
Pachakowski, seconded by.
Harris.
Harris, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Thank you. Past 9-0. Appreciate it. 3.1 is chair's comments. A reminder that for people that are out there, send all questions related to the agenda to scarlton@sunrisesd.ca. Name and address of the sender, please include in the email, and we'll answer your questions at the end of during question period. I'm going to open up to the floor to share a story. Anybody want to share a story?
Hi, Paul. It's Diane Rowland, Trustee Rowland.
Go ahead, Trustee. Go ahead.
I would just like to commend the high schools and all the schools for the work they did in the last 2 weeks with remote learning, and how that went quite well with the students, as far as I've heard and experienced myself. And I just wanted to say thanks for going through that. You guys did a great job, and continue the good work. Thank you.
Very well said, Trustee Rowland. Absolutely. Thank you. Anyone else? So I'm going to read one. We got a card.
Yes, I have one, Paul.
Go ahead, Trustee
I
Reed.
have one, Paul.
Go ahead.
My turn?
Yes, sir.
I'm just saying that in Lac-La-Bonnie, we have a rink at the school, and it's being used. One of the kids from the community and families are gathering there as well in the evenings, and so it's a real handy thing for the community, for the morale and things like that. And I have a little prepared reading here that I'll read out to you. I'll do it fairly quickly. It says the rink was initially the brainchild of Leslie Wakeman, who's a former teacher in Sunrise, and was sponsored by the Lac-La-Bonnie Charitable Foundation. We didn't have a rink for several years because we were using the rink space to store fill. But this year, Mrs. Lucci's contacted the school and asked if there was anything that we could do to support the community wellness. They provided us with some funds to replace some older boards and to buy new ones and framing for the rink and to purchase proper signage. In late fall, we had some volunteers come to the school to put in the framing boards. The Lac-La-Bonnie Fire Department agreed to fill the rink when the weather got cold enough, and the town of Lac-La-Bonnie allowed us to use their water supply. Firefighter Ben Hanstead spent time over Christmas holidays filling the rink with load after load of water. He has groomed it to be a wonderful outdoor rink surface. Since restrictions on school playground use after hours were lifted, the rink has been used every day and evening by families in the community. People have been really good about following social distancing, and it's a big enough surface that several people can safely skate all at the same time. It took a real community effort to create the community rink, and we're pleased that it's serving its intended purpose, which is supporting wellness in the community. So that's the end of my report.
Thanks, Russ. Thanks very much. Anyone else? I'm going to share a card that I picked up today because I was in signing some things at the division office, and it's to the Sunrise School Division Board. It's Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thanks for your support to our staff and students. We'd also like to thank you for supporting our request for the plexiglass barriers. They look extremely professional, and our staff are very happy. Pam Selch, President QP 4456. So I thought that I would share this. I'll get this to Stacy, but I ended up bringing it home, and I'll share that to everybody throughout. So thanks certainly about going ahead and doing that. Anyone else? Okay, let's move on. 4.1 is our board delegation, and I'm going to have Secretary Treasurer Mr. Carlton go ahead and introduce our new addition.
Thanks, Paul. After an exhaustive search, as is required by the Public Schools Act, Sunrise recently, I'm going to get into that in a second, engaged in the services of Crystal Kramers, our Senior Electoral Officer, SEO position being obviously somewhat a variable position, obviously much more busy at times when there are elections, not quite as busy when there aren't, but still some work to do. Since we engaged with Crystal, obviously, COVID kind of overtook the world, and we've been really busy with other priorities. So I apologize to trustees for not getting her in front of you much more quickly. But certainly, it's our hope that things will stabilize in the world we live in these days. And I thought it might be a good time, as requested by the board, to get Crystal in front of you to introduce herself and tell you a little bit about her background and give you an opportunity to ask any questions you might have. So thanks very much, Crystal, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Chairman, trustees, and everyone. And thank you for allowing me to be here and choosing me to be the applicant. I'm really happy and excited to get going here. Yeah, I was like, do I share a bit about myself? But I'll just kind of get into what sort of game plan I have, because Scott and I were talking about that, to get things going and kind of the state of things I haven't really done too much because, as Scott had said, COVID sort of took over everything just after I had started the position. So I was holding off for a bit, and then I found out that the the RM of Springfield wasn't updating their voters list until December anyway. So for me to tackle the voters list before they had, if I have to get any information from them, I'd just be duplicating work. So I've sort of held off, but I'm hoping we can get things going because the first thing that needs to be tackled is making sure that the voters list is up to date, and to do any reformats or anything that I need to do to the spreadsheets just to make it more organized for my brain. And of course, as I'm sure you're all aware, Springfield and area postal code changes and whatnot have happened since the last voter list was worked on. So there was a mass update to do with that. I'm hoping to streamline that a little bit and make it faster, but the more that we can tackle that before a potential election, the easier the election will go, and the more that the constituents and everything will have a better time and a more positive outlook, because I work both the federal and the provincial elections, and people having to re-give the same information they've already given became a huge frustration. So I'd like to try and minimize that as much as possible. Game plan for that, just to give you an idea, I would say it was probably about 40 to 80 hours to do all those updates. I am fairly fast with working on the computer, so I'm probably sure I can do it in less than 40 hours, but I wanted to give a ballpark because you never know what happens, right? So another thing that I would like to tackle is to do, especially because with COVID, I would like to do site visits of the places where we held the elections with the municipalities last time, so I can look at any health concerns that might be in place, and also organize floor plans and whatnot to have that information available to make organizing an election easier. And this is kind of a question to the board. If there are any annual correspondence that we send out to the division, whether it be by mail or email, I'd like to organize a piggyback for request updates to the voters list on that, because it needs to be done annually, and it's just easier to piggyback onto a correspondence if we have such. I'm not sure if we do. That's kind of where I'd like to start. But to give you an idea of some things that I'm thinking that I would love to tackle in addition to that is I would love to formulate a election and by-election game plan document that outlines the steps that need to be done for every election or by-election, in what order, including timeframes and everything broken down, so that there's a central document available should something happen. And there's just a guideline that makes sure that everybody's kind of on the same page. I'm just checking my notes here. And this is kind of would really love to do, investigate a non-mail-in system version of updating the registry if possible, and possibly tying that into a database as opposed to multiple Excel spreadsheets to make changing borders and boundaries and special considerations, special addresses and stuff easier than trying to find the address in a spreadsheet and adjusting it that way. Those are kind of must-have in addition to, not must-have, sorry, would like to do if budgetary concerns allow, or you thought that there was enough interest in me pursuing something like that. And other than that, hopefully I didn't speak too fast. Pleasure to meet you all. I am here to help or answer any questions you may have.
Well, welcome, Crystal, and thanks for that. And it's Paul speaking, and for the most part, we'll be first names, and we'll get to know people as you move through. I will open it up to the floor, Crystal, for our trustees if they want to ask you any questions, and they'll introduce themselves if they do. So I'm going to leave the floor open. Any questions for Crystal?
Trustee Magnan, it's Trustee Paczkowski.
Go ahead.
My apologies for interrupting if I interrupted someone. That hand feature, raise your hand feature is still not there. Thanks, Crystal, for your presentation. I was just going to suggest, Paul, that maybe we go round table and just let every trustee introduce themselves. So again, welcome, Crystal. I know there's probably a lot of work there for you if need. And I think as much as your imagination can find new ways or new formats to do things, I'm open to whatever whatever things that you can look at that way. But my name is Jarrett Pachkowski, and I'm a trustee of Ward 6, arm of Brokenhead. Thank you again.
Thanks, Trustee Pachkowski. Trustee Nickel, how about if you do that?
All right. You probably know who I am because I was one of the people that interviewed you. So I'm Don Nickel from Ward 1. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Don. Trustee Reed?
I'm Russ Reed. I'm from Lac La Bonnie.
Thanks, Russ. Trustee Duma?
Hi, Crystal. Trustee Duma from the Oak Bank area. Welcome. I'm glad that you're able to come. I think that it's nice to be able to put a face to your name. So I really appreciate that you had a chance to come out. And I welcome you to your new position. I think it'll be exciting for you. And I think you've probably got some great ideas in your head. So welcome and thank you for coming out.
Trustee Harris?
Hi, Crystal. Great to have you on board. It's Trustee Harris from the Ward 2, Rondinola. Thank you.
Trustee Inslee?
Hi, Crystal. We met because I was part of the interviewing committee, and I'm Ward 4 alongside Diane Duma for the Oak Bank area. And yeah, I'd just like to welcome you. I'm looking forward to having you on board.
Trustee Rowland?
Oh, shoot. I'm trying to get my video on. There we go. Hi, Crystal. We had met because as well as Diane and Karen, we had the pleasure of interviewing with Crystal, and I just wanted to say welcome. It's good to see you. And yeah, I think as Diane says, you got your ideas are in the right trajectory, I would say. You're looking at the right stuff. Sounds really good, and wish you a lot of luck and success with all the work that you're going to do for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Barry?
Oh, hello. Yeah. Hello, Crystal. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. It was very informative. I'm Trustee Art Barry from the Beausejour Ward, Ward 5.
So again, I think that you've met the whole crew then, Crystal. I'm Trustee Magna, Board Chair, and I'm from the great white north of Towerview and the RM of Alexander. So certainly welcome. So on behalf of the board, welcome, Crystal. I think that we just wanted to get a little bit of an introduction. I know that you and Scott will continue to do go ahead and collaborate. Before we let Crystal go, is there any questions that anyone has? Okay, so Crystal, certainly welcome to the position, and we'll certainly look forward. We'll certainly continue to communicate with you as you move forward through this, and Scott will do the communication with us. But welcome aboard, and thanks for spending some time with us tonight.
Sorry, Paul, I forgot to just say, I just want to make sure that Crystal feels that she's fully supported in her position, and that if there's anything that she does need, that it comes to the board for sure, that anything we can do to support her doing really good elections in our division. So just to make sure you know that you have access to the board through Scott to ask for anything that you need.
Thanks, Trustee Duma. Crystal, any last words before we sign off?
Just thank you very much for all your kind words. It's nice to meet everybody and some of you again, and I look forward to working with you all.
Yeah, thanks very much. Appreciate it. We're going to move on. 5.1, our minutes. So we have minutes of November the 3rd. So be resolved, the board adopt the minutes of November the 3rd. And Diane, you said something to us a little bit earlier. Did you want to, before we go forward with this, did you want to say anything?
Well, I did submit in an email for November. I just put some outlines. They're very minimal, but they're just some corrections to the minutes, and I thought I'd put it in an email so it's easier to read. I don't know if people have looked at them. If you haven't, I can read them out to you. So that's my point. Like I put them in an email. I basically said for November the 3rd, if we could just identify the presiding officers and the attendance portion. And then I thought it might be helpful to add in when it says, oh, Canada, we often say Hazel Ridge School, but just add in that it's actually a video being played. I noticed that when we do the treaty acknowledgement, we actually say read by trustee so-and-so. So we're actually saying what we're doing. And then just regarding the initial motion of the approval of the agenda at 2.0 on there's an addition written after the motion, and it should be part of the motion where we added 8.14. It's just kind of cleaning it up. And 8.7, there was a 2 in brackets at the end of the school and department presentations, and I didn't know why it was there. And then I just wondered if we could add 2 pieces of correspondence into 11.0, and I listed it in an email to everybody.
Okay, so I guess what I'm looking for then from the board is that can it be resolved the board adopt the November the 3rd minutes with the amendments from Trustee Duma? Is that something that can is that something that can that we can move forward with? Trustee Duma, are you okay with doing that?
Yeah, just add that in. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to add that. So I'm going to ask you then, Trustee Duma, be resolved the board adopt the November the 3rd minutes with the amendments from Trustee Duma. So Trustee Duma, you're going to motion that. I need a seconder to that motion.
Yeah, I'll move that motion.
Okay, I need a seconder.
Pat Chakowski.
Pat Chakowski. Any questions to that motion? Hearing none, we'll vote. So it was 8 in favor and 1 opposed. Thank you. The minutes of December the 8th, be it resolved that the board adopt the December 8th minutes with amendments presented in an email by Trustee Duma. Trustee Duma, are you going to move that, please?
I can move that. My only concern is that if people don't see the email, they should be just stated, at least for your to make sure that everybody knows. There's 5 small statements for December the 8th regular meeting minutes, and again, identifying the presiding officers. And again, regarding the Oakbank Elementary School, just add in that it's a video being played. And then for 8.1, I believe there was a written report under COVID costs, so wonder if written report could be added in. And also in 8.2 public budget input, I wondered if we could add in that there was an email received from Ashley Wolf. And then 8.6, the motion, I just wasn't clear about that motion, and I just wondered if there was a word missing. If people wanted to look at 8.6, it didn't quite make sense to me, and I just wondered if there was a motion that was missing from a word missing from it.
So let's have a look at 8.6. .6 talks about proposed subdivision of RM of Springfield. Does anybody want to comment on that? Somebody needs to mute their microphone if you can. .6 proposed subdivision RM of Springfield.
Just to clarify, I'm okay with the wording in the motion. I think it speaks to public attendance at meetings, if I'm not mistaken.
8.6 just says proposed subdivision RM of Springfield.
No, I think I'm referring to that motion that talked about March 6th, March 16th, 2021, and it says public something, and I didn't know what it referred to.
I'm not sure. Someone's going to have to help me where you're talking about. I don't see it.
I think you might be on the wrong ones, Paul. It's the December 8th. I can read it. Be it resolved that the board revisit the public ed meetings on March 16th, 2021 board meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, if you read it, it doesn't make sense. You revisit the public at meetings on March the 16th.
So again, I'm just clarifying. So if you want to add a word attendance, because we were going to be revisiting whether we were going to have public attend our meetings, or if we were going to be attending meetings in public. So that's what it speaks to. I'm okay with the wording because I understand it. But if you're proposing that we add a word to it, Trustee Duma, then what would you like added?
Well, I think your word suits it. If you just put in attendance, revisit public attendance at meetings to review that in March. Yeah.
So the thing I have trouble with though is that was a motion that was made in a meeting and we're adopting minutes only. So I don't think we can go ahead and make that change because we're only looking at the minutes of that meeting. We would have to go and rescind and make another motion, I believe. So I'm okay with the wording and I'm just trying to clarify so we all know what it meant. I don't think we can go ahead and change the wording of that motion though through minutes.
Yeah, I don't know whether it was just a missed word. That's why I brought it up, because it didn't make sense to me. If you think that was the motion that was stated at that meeting, then that's what it was. But I thought there was a word missed. That's why I asked the question. But I'm not going to worry about it.
Trustee
Okay.
Harris?
Go ahead, Trustee Harris.
I would recommend then that we look back at the tape and see what was actually said. It should be on the tape.
Okay.
And then put the proper word in.
I'm not gonna, yeah, if it's in there, it's in there. If it's not, it's not. Just that we would just make the absolute correction if it needs to be done. That's all. If not, just leave it.
And
Okay,
that's
so
the way to find out about it, so.
So we've got be resolved the board adopt the December 8th minutes with the amendments as stated with Trustee Duma. Trustee Duma has made the motion to it. We need a seconder to it.
Harris?
Seconder Harris. Any questions to it? Hearing none, we'll vote. Scott, Stacy, I don't see a vote coming up on me. Is it something with my computer?
No, it's not coming up. We're working on it.
Okay. There we go. And it was carried 9-0. Thank you very much. And with the minutes of January the 5th be resolved, are there minutes here as well, Diane, that you want to make some comment to?
Yeah, there's just 3 items for January 5th minutes. Again, identify the presiding officers in the attendance. And I just wondered if we could add in the name of the transportation manager and add in that we did receive a report from him, add that in. And also for the correspondence of 11.2, I believe that there were 2 letters that we sent out by the chair for land planning, and I wondered if they could just be put into the correspondence section of 11.2. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Be it resolved that the board adopt the January 5th board meeting minutes with amendments from Trustee Duma. And you're going to move that, Trustee Duma. I need a seconder to that.
Yes,
I'll second that.
Seconder, Trustee Barry. Thank you. Any comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. And that got passed 9-0. Thank you. 6.1 is a superintendent's report. Ms. Timko, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You have my report in front of you, which is a bit of the new information around our students returning. The first couple of weeks in January, we had our kindergarten to grade 6 students in school and our grade 7 to 12s that were working virtually or remotely. And as Trustee Rowland pointed out, did a brilliant job of staying engaged, and our teachers and students really made the most of that time in that 2 weeks. Our grade 7 to 12s are now back to what we would call a regular remote or regular restricted remote. So the way that things were on December 18th is how students have now returned. So we are back to how we left on December 18th with regards to restricted orange. All of the same restrictions or all of the same protocols are in place, so we need to be following all of those. And just wanted to make sure that people knew that that's where we were at. We've also hired 3 remote learning teachers, and some families are continuing on with remote learning. In our English program, grade 1 to grade 6 have classrooms of the remote learning, with grade 7s and 8s in the English program to be added to that mix at the beginning of February. Our French immersion families will be connected with the Provincial Remote Learning Centre, as they have some French resourcing that they can do through the Provincial Centre. So any of those students who are looking to continue on remote will be hooked into the Provincial Centre for the remainder of this school year. A couple of quick things. Our weekly bulletin is now going out on Wednesdays and not Mondays. Partly because the province doesn't meet with school divisions until Tuesday afternoons. So we wanted to get some information that was hot off the presses or fresh out of the government to let people know what's going on. As an example, just today they had spoken around the grade 12 exams. Provincial exams in English and mathematics and Français are suspended for June. So that'll be coming out very shortly. We'll put it in our weekly bulletin tomorrow. Our schools and teachers now know, and any of our public now knows because we've, broken the news here. So our grade 12 provincial exams are suspended for June as well. I also wanted to do one quick announcement that it's kindergarten registration time coming up at the beginning of February. So the very first week of February, the 1st to the 5th, we begin doing kindergarten registration. Very typically in a regular school year, in a non-pandemic year, kindergarten students and their families come right into the school and they spend a little time at the front office filling out forms and seeing the school and doing that in person. But we can't do that this year, so we're doing virtual registrations. So we'll send communications out through the schools. We've got an ad going out into the local newspapers, and we will have a virtual links on our website as well. There are a number of ways that families can register their children for kindergarten for next year. They can go to the website and click on the link and have some fillable forms that they can complete right there on the website. They could print those off and email them to a general email address. They could contact the school and also get a paper package that they can pick up and drop off right at the school if that's the only way that they could do that. Our preference is to do it virtually just to keep that contact to a minimum. But by all means, if they need to make those arrangements, just phone the school first. The ads will have all of the telephone numbers of the school so that you can phone and let someone know that you'd like to come and pick up a package, and they'll have it ready for you. The 3 things that we need to sort of be ready to do if we're registering a child for kindergarten. We have a registration form that has all of the information from names and numbers and addresses and birth dates and siblings. That's our registration form. Parents need to be ready to make a decision around whether their child will be in the English program, the French immersion program, or in the Ukrainian bilingual program. Makes a difference to the schools and the staffing pieces. There's also a transportation application form. So if families are farther away than 1.6, and Scott will jump in if I'm incorrect with that, 1.6 kilometers from the school, they need to fill out a transportation form, as well as to provide some identification, like a birth certificate or a baptismal certificate would do in terms of identification. All of that will be up on the website with ways to safely transmit those or to get copies in. So it is kind of kindergarten registration time. You'll be starting to see that on the website and coming out from our schools and in the newspapers. Unless there are questions, that is my report.
Thanks, Kath. Any questions for Kathy?
Trustee Rowland, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Hi, Kathy. So, so exciting to have the kindergarten registration, and what a refreshing thought to be able to think about little munchkins coming. That's so awesome. And, but you know what, Kathy, I remember that in the past, we've always offered like pre-kindergarten assessments for children coming to school in the community. And that is linked to our community speech language pathology and program support that we have offered as a school division to families. So I was wondering, here we are in COVID, is there any opportunity to do assessments on those kids, or is that program with speech language pathology gone to the wayside right now, because that would be in someone's home, and that's all that prep we do before those little kiddos come to the school? I'm just wondering where that's at. Maybe Jackie knows. I don't. Thanks. It's always great.
I do. This is Jackie. I do have some information. So yeah, we can't, right now we're not planning any of the kids, the 3 and 4-year-old fairs as we have in the past due to COVID. We certainly do have a connection with CTI and the IRHA. So we have preschool SLPs who do work with students who are about to, well, anywhere between 3 and 5. So we still have a family support worker so that we have an idea of what might be some needs with some of our kiddos entering. But right now there are no plans for any fairs or any one-on-one assessments. And I guess we will have to take that day by day.
So there's no at-home support for speech language before they come to kindergarten?
There is still support. CTI and IERHA are still supporting students, but it's not in home. It's remote. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Trustee Rowland and Jackie. Anyone else? Questions? All right. Thanks, Kath. We'll move on. 7.1 is the Secretary Treasurer's report. Mr. Carlton, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Paul. So the report is filed. I'll, as I regularly do, point out a few things on here. With transportation, given Jason's presentation and the board's acceptance last meeting, the first of the next 5 buses with blown engines is in Maxim for engine repairs and should be done this week. We actually received just on Friday, I believe, the specifications for the bus ordering for this year coming up. So we'll be working on the order for next year as well. Of course, the budget process is part of that and will all have to be approved prior to March 31st. The second phase of the Edward Schreier HVAC replacement has been awarded. I had the name of the contractor in here, but it hasn't been publicly announced. I'm going to kind of give it away here though, and Derek's going to kick me tomorrow, but it was the same vendor that performed phase 1, so that's welcome news. We've had good luck with this vendor, and obviously their involvement in phase 1 of the renovations at Edward Schreier will be beneficial for their involvement in phase 2. I touched on this a little bit in camera when we spoke about some funding opportunities. The province has sent an email indicating they have some excess funds and they're looking for proposals for some capital projects for divisions. Again, one of the desires, needs expressed to us by principals is a remote system, as Robin mentioned when we went to Dougal Daycare, very similar to the one they have there. It's kind of like an intercom with a video, and when somebody's ringing the bell at the door, you can press a button and let them in. So we will be preparing a proposal for that. We don't meet again prior to the 31st, and we need to get it into the province by the 31st. So unfortunately, I don't think we'll have a chance for the board to review it before it does go in, but I will bring a copy for information. ICT is heavily involved. We've had a couple of meetings this week, and we'll move into some more meetings with GORD. Really, with one of our most important pieces of software across the division, our student information system. I believe we've touched on this in meetings before. We use a system called Maplewood. Maplewood has been purchased and is evolving into a system called EdSembly. This is the system that keeps attendance, keeps student information, keeps marks, keeps personal learning plans. It keeps an awful lot of information. So it's vital to our division. So that's a very important project for Gord to be on. So that's keeping him hopping. In finance, we did receive yesterday, was the closing date for bids for audit services. We did receive 3 bids I actually got one electronically, which I'm not supposed to do, and looked at it. So I removed myself from any decision making with regard to opening up those bids. Tracy, our purchasing manager, and Susan opened 3 sealed bids. I got the bid returned in a sealed envelope. So they will look at it, provide the pros and cons, and will be bringing a recommendation back to the board on who we're choosing to or recommending that we move forward with. So that's it. That's all, unless there are questions.
Thanks, Scott. Any questions for Scott? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Board business 8.1, COVID costs. Scott, floor is yours.
So we are providing, and I have been providing, a report that I'm giving back to the province, a Safe Schools report, on a monthly basis. For December, we did present that at the January 5th meeting, so I haven't done that again. However, I've given you an update, just a little bit on things that we have spent during the first half of January. So there's a bit of an update there for you to have a look at. Again, consistent with our projections. Another piece that I did mention in camera, just to highlight, we're looking at potentially spending some of the COVID funding we've got. It shouldn't be a substantial amount, but it's not inexpensive to run some cable drops and set up some more Wi-Fi access points in some of our schools, which will enable our remote teachers who are in schools right now doing remote learning for children at home to be able to access the Wi-Fi a little bit better. So I'll get an update. I've asked Gord to make some recommendations to me with regard to where the top need is and what the costs are going to be, and I'll bring that back to the board for the next meeting, certainly. I believe, the need is likely to be quite high, but we'll prioritize those schools that really need it and where it's going to be most useful for remote learning.
Thanks, Scott. Any questions for Scott? COVID costs?
Harris?
Go ahead, Trustee Harris.
There's one item in your report tonight, Scott, that takes up about 25% of the amount, and that has to do with bus driver cleaning. Can you expand on that, please?
Am I muted? No, I'm still on. Okay. Yeah. So the bus drivers, essentially, many of them they don't work long days necessarily, but we've added an awful lot of responsibility on them with regard to cleaning their buses, both after their morning run and after their evening run. They're wiping down all high-touch surfaces. They're giving the bus a real good cleaning. So that has increased dramatically the amount of money that we've been paying to the drivers. We pay them a flat rate, hourly rate for the cleaning on their buses.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing none, we'll move on. Thanks, Scott. 8.2, public budget input.
Yeah, I think this piece we've had just as a placeholder, Paul. So just a reminder to any of the public who may be watching, we are still accepting input, feedback, any sort of advice on priorities for this board as we go through our budget process. Again, I'm forgetting the timeline, but I believe the presentation of our draft budget to the board is in the middle of February, and then is not finalized and ratified by this board until March. So there's still plenty of time to get some feedback into the board on budget priorities. You can email budget@sunrisesd.ca, or of course, any mail to our mailing address, please address to the Secretary Treasurer.
Scott, so I did send a center voice home to parents, and then we gave them 3 ways. One was to make a presentation. One was certainly to use the email that you just outlined. And the third way is certainly they can contact any of their trustees directly, and all the trustees' emails and information is on our website, and they can go ahead and do that and contact people directly. So those are the 3 ways for us to collect public budget input. So thanks, Scott, for continuing putting that up there and reminding people. Appreciate it. 8.3 is a CAPSO. It's a virtual conference of 2021. And I do think that we have 5 trustees that are interested in going. And just so that you know, it is a motion that needs to go through the board. And just to be clear, all trustees can vote on this because even though if you're one of those ones that are going, not a conflict, there's 5 of you there. We wouldn't have quorum if we didn't have all of you to go ahead and vote. So what it is, it's be it resolved, the board approve Trustee Pachikowski, Trustee Rowland, Trustee Reed, Trustee Inslee, and Trustee Barry to attend the Capsule Virtual Conference May 2nd to the 4th, 2021. So I need a mover and a seconder.
Trustee Duma, I'll move it.
Thank you. I need a seconder.
I'll second it, Russ Reed.
Thank you. Any questions to it?
I also think the reason we need to put the motion forward is that it gives Stacy permission to go ahead and register everybody and get under that cost if it's paid by the end of the month. So I think that's one of the reasons also.
Yeah, and trustees do need to come to get permission to go from the board, so that somebody just doesn't do it themselves. So, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. So it was 9-4. Just a reminder that as you go to this, you do need to come back prepared to share with the rest of the board, certainly about the conference, and that is been a standing thing for us. 8.4 is a laptop report. Kathy, I think you put that together. The floor is yours.
I can actually jump on that one, Paul. So
okay.
I had Gord put together the majority of this information. There was some discussion around, what we had in the hands of our teachers. I won't read it verbatim. There's some data there with regard to the number of teachers' devices that exist in each school, as well as how many of those are laptops. As you can see, in some schools, there's substantially more than others, specifically with regard to laptops. So Gord did have a couple of sort of concerns that he wanted me to express. He reiterated that he does leave it up to the administrators on a 5-year refresh as to whether or not they would like to see desktops or laptops. The primary decision point is that some of the smart boards that exist in classrooms do require, I'm going to use the word horsepower, computing power is probably a better word, do use quite a bit of horsepower in order to operate. And generally speaking, on a dollar for dollar basis, you get more bang for your buck out of a desktop computer than you do a laptop computer. A comparable laptop with the same sort of computing power as a desktop is substantially more money. And for that reason, for the most part, administrators are interested in getting that more horsepower and going with desktops. So that's kind of been the history of it. The other piece that he did ask me to bring up is that certainly, if we look at, as a board at adding devices, currently he has 6 technicians that sort of manage 2,500 different devices in the schools, 2 senior network admin people and 4 technicians. So, he does want to express the fact that if we added some devices into the mix, he wants us to consider adding some more support there as well. So I'll leave it at that and take any questions.
Any questions for Scott?
Yes, I have.
Go ahead, Trustee Nicol.
Yeah, on the report, I'm not quite sure. It says adding a 600 device will require 1 additional IC tech. He's not suggesting that we add 600 because, or is he suggesting that if we do add 600, that's what you need? Because if we're going to have laptops for all the teachers, we only need another about 120 new laptops.
Yeah, I don't think that's a suggestion in any way, shape, or form, Don. I think he's saying that, with 2,500 devices now and 4 techs, they have about 1 for every 600 devices, so that it'd be 620 or so. So that if we added 600 more devices, we would look at adding an ICT technician. I think he's just using a ratio of the number of devices to technicians at this point in time.
Okay, thanks.
Trustee Reed. Trustee Reed, did you have a comment? You're muted, Trustee Reed.
Sorry, I thought I was not muted.
Go ahead, Russ.
You can hear me now?
Yes, I can.
I'm looking at the allocated teaching staff. The total teaching devices, I notice it's the only school on there where they have less teachers than they actually have teaching staff. I'm just wondering if there's a reason for that, or what it strikes me as somewhat strange.
Sorry, Russ, I think you kind of cut up in the middle there. Can you repeat that? There's less devices than there is teaching staff?
Well, everyone says allocated teaching staff. Like you look at Beausejour, for example, says 24.11, and they have 33 teacher devices, which is about 1 1/3 or 1 1/8, whatever. But Centennial has 10 teachers, and they only have 4 devices. Every school on there has more devices than teachers.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm really not sure about that. I just kind of gathered.
Centennial.
Yeah, I gathered the data from Gord. I'm really not sure on that one, Russ, but I can certainly check into how it evolved that way. I'll have to look into it.
Thanks, Scott.
No, I guess my comment would be that. Pardon, I was going to say, I guess my comment would be that that should maybe be a priority to get that back up on schools. 50 devices, only 28 staff.
So Russ, we're having a hard time. We're having a hard time hearing you, and maybe it's because your video's on, and maybe you need to turn your camera off, and we'll be able to hear you better. But I do think that what Scott said is he does need to look into it and get back to you. Is that okay, Russ?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Did you
Thanks,
hear
Russ.
that?
I can hear you much better now that your video's off. Thanks, Russ.
Okay.
Did you want to add anything else, Russ?
No, if Scott's going to look into it, that's good enough for me. I just thought that maybe this should be a priority to get Centennial back up on par with everybody else, that's all.
Well, I think that what he'll do is he'll look into it and see. That does seem like it's an anomaly, so I think that we should look into it and get it further information. Scott said that he would go ahead and do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? Any other questions for Scott? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. 8.5 is our capsule membership. That is for information. Kathy or Scott, did you want to talk about this?
Just wanted to make the board aware that we do have an organizational membership in Capsule. So if there's any resources related to Capsule and some of the events they do, just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that.
Thank you, Scott.
Can I make a comment? Did you notice that my name's on the top of the invoice?
Yeah, I did, and I think it must have been I think at some point, Dan, you probably signed up for a newsletter or something. I think our newsletter comes to you as well. It comes to us as well, but it also goes to you. So
I signed up for Capsule before I became a trustee, and I was getting them, and then I paid for the membership to attend years ago. In fact, I used to get their big 5-inch thick document of all of the court cases that they used to do. So I don't know if there's a way to switch that to, if you want to be able to renew it, because it looks like it's for the corporate, for the board. It's for the all of Sunrise, right? Or not?
It is. Yeah. It's for all of Sunrise.
So we'll look to changing that name on there, Diane, so that it's not Diane, that it's Sunrise School Division.
Yeah, Stacy has added herself as well, so the communication is coming to her as well. But yeah, we can look at that.
Thank you. 8.6.
Paul?
Yes.
Sorry, I just had one comment about that, because you're talking about resources from Capsule, and I think that on occasion, like they do have seminars and webinars and things like these that are going on. But I just was like, I think the last one they had was sort of like short notice that was kind of given. I just want to be sure that we're not missing out. If Stacy or wherever that does get mailed to can let us know of things that are being offered by Capsule. Maybe even a more comprehensive list if they have a calendar or something for the year, or because I'm not really aware of the resources that are available outside of the conference. So I know there was one last fall, but and anyways, if you know what I mean, I would, if there's more available, I would like an easier compilation of what is available to us.
So one of the things, go ahead, Stacy.
Nope, go ahead, Paul.
So I think one of the things that we can do is certainly make sure that I'm pretty sure that we're getting the stuff out as soon as it comes into us. But one of the things that we can ask Stacy to look into, and we can check ourselves, is there a calendar of Capsule of information? And if there is, Stacy, can you check into it, let me know, and then I will report back to the board certainly on it. So Scott, if that's something that we could go ahead and take a look at, let's see if we can go ahead and do.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks, Diane, for bringing that up.
Yeah, I added a note in the chat because I lost my connection. So just to follow up on the comment.
Thanks, Dan. We're going to move on to 8.6, the Ad Hoc Committee. Be it resolved, the board elect an ad hoc committee of 3 trustees to develop a format for meeting minutes, reporting back to the Board of Trustees with a recommendation by February the 26th. Can I get a mover to that?
Trustee Pachkowski.
Moved by Trustee Pachkowski. Can I get a seconder?
I'll second that, Trustee Duma.
Trustee Duma. I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak to it, Trustee Pachkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I think the purpose behind the motion, obviously, I hope it's clear, but I think there's been a lot of discussion at the table with regards to minutes. And I think just for the board to ensure that there's consistency in the minutes that we post to our website for people to see, that I thought it would be best that we develop put together a committee, and not looking for anything lengthy, but just to put something together that we can provide the secretary to the board, so we can have something consistent moving forward from there. So that was just my thoughts on it, and that was the kind of thought process behind the motion. And yeah, thank you.
I think the other thing too, Jared, that we talked about was to give some clear direction, so that clearly we what people that they're very clear as to what we're looking for with regard to minutes as well. So, are there any other comments?
Trustee Doom, I just wanted to add the comment that it'd be nice to have the 3 trustees on it, but I also like to include Stacy, potentially Scott, to just be part of the conversation also, if they're able to be part of it.
Well, I do think that Scott and Stacy should be there absolutely with the 3 trustees. Thanks, Trustee Duma. And any other comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. I'm just waiting on the last trustee.
I don't see it coming up on my, oh, I may have to rejoin. I might have lost it. I'll check.
Mr. Chairman, while we're waiting for that last vote to come in, is it all right if I make a comment? Not really, it's going to affect it.
So it
I just was wondering.
It passed 9-0. Go ahead, Trustee Pachkowski.
So I'm just wondering, with the timeline that's on the motion, if we should be maybe doing that election, yeah, doing that, setting that committee up.
We're doing it right now. So I need 3 trustees or 3 people that are interested, and then if there's more than 3, we'll have an election. But I'm looking for 3 trustees that want to sit on this committee. Floor is open.
Trustee Inslee, I would like to.
Trustee-
Trustee Nicola, I would like to.
Trustee Duma, I would like to also.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. So hearing no other names, that we're going to move forward with Inslee, Nicol, and Duma to move forward with this. And I'm going to ask Trustee Duma to take the lead on this, to organize with Nicol, Inslee, Stacy, and Scott, and be able to get the information back to us by February the 16th. Are you okay with that, Trustee Nicol and Trustee Inslee?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Don, you okay with that?
Yeah, I had to unmute myself. Yes, I'm fine.
And Diane, I guess you're okay with it?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Okay, let's move forward. Thank you very much for doing that. Committee reports, policy committee update. Trustee Harris, floor is yours.
We have a policy meeting scheduled for tomorrow at 1:30, so we'll have information and have to come back at our next board meeting.
Thank you. 8.8 Finance Committee update. Chair Rowland, floor is yours.
Yikes, coming back. There we go. Sorry. We had a really great meeting this past week. Not too much to actually really point out. Things are going really great, and except for that, we did talk about the letter that the province had sent about this additional funding that is available if we submit by the end of the month. So we're very excited to see what Derek or other departments, could come up with that would fall in that category. We did discuss the unused COVID costs, or allocation of funds from the government that we have that may be unused by the end of the year, and which Scott had mentioned, I believe, or we talked about, we have to be returned to the province at some time. So as a committee, I guess we would like to have, to just reiterate that we would like to have that money fully utilized in our schools if and where possible it could be identified a need where this money could be applied before the end of the year. So, it doesn't necessarily have to be returned to the province. I would really love to somehow infuse this money into our schools that is allocated from the general government coffers. Then as we go through our budget time, and then having to, put something off for a future year for our neighbors and ourselves to have to fund. So I'd like us to really look at trying to utilize those funds, and our committee talked about that. So we're going to keep, hearing back from departments, I'm sure, on that. And we do have a check register to approve, and we actually have another meeting at the end of the month to review December funds. The one that we're doing today is actually from November. So if I'm correct on that, right, Scott? I believe it's correct. And so we'll be meeting again at the end of the month, and that's all I have to say, I think, unless Scott wants to add something.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. You're exactly right. We'll be going through December. I keep forgetting the date. I want to say it's the 27th.
I believe so.
Yeah, prior to the next meeting anyway.
Yes, it is the 27th.
So from there, you've got an action item. Be it resolved, the board adopt the financial monitoring report for the month end November 30th, reviewed by the Finance Committee on January 14th. You're going to move that, Diane?
Sure.
Moved by Trustee Rowland, seconded by? Need a seconder?
Pachkowski.
Trustee Pachkowski. Any questions to this?
Paul, just to point out, I think you jumped ahead a little bit. We have a check register next. I'm only saying so because I think it's going to throw Stacy out of order on ESB. Correct me if I'm wrong, Stacy.
That is correct.
Correct. And yeah, we didn't review the discuss monitoring report yet. So check register.
So 8.9 is the check register, and I said
I think you said
my apologies. Monitoring report, yes, sorry. So So we will have to come back to it. Thanks, Stacy. So it's the check register. Be resolved, the board receive the November 2020 check register, the total amount of $3,167,455.88, reviewed on January 14th, 2021 by the Finance Committee for information as submitted. So, Diane, are you going to move this? Trustee Rowland?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Trustee Rowland, seconded by?
Trustee Paczkowski.
I'll second it. Russ Reed.
Trustee Reed, thank you. Any questions to the check register? Hearing none, we'll vote. It's past 9-0. And so we already have an open motion on the floor with regard to the monitoring report. So I jumped ahead to it, my fault. 10.1. So be resolved, the board adopt the financial monitoring report. It was motioned by Trustee Rowland and seconded by Trustee Paczewski. Any comments to the monitoring report? Hearing none, we'll vote. Sorry about that, Stacy. I didn't need to give you problems. My fault. We're just waiting on one trustee to vote. So 8 in favor, 1 is opposed. Thank you. Professional development information and reports. There are none there. Board correspondence. You'll see that there are letters that were sent. You'll see about Allen the media. You'll see a number of temporary suspension of elections, update regarding funding of schools program, expanded school capital support. So there's a bunch of information that is there. Nice to know information. It's there for you as well. We have upcoming meetings on February the 2nd and February the 16th for board meetings. We do have a budget meeting this Thursday. Questions from the public? Scott, are there any questions from the public? 14.1.
I do not have any questions.
Okay. So I do know that we need to move back into in-camera for this. We will take it's 8, my clock, it's 8:15. We will resume at 8:20. So please remind myself, we need to get out of this and go back into in-camera. Is that right, Stacy, Kathy, and Scott?
I believe that's correct. Yeah, the 6 o'clock meeting invite should still work.
Okay, so we need to go back to our 6 o'clock meeting and go into in-camera, and Trustee Paczkowski will have the floor, and we'll move from there, and then we'll come back out of in-camera. All right, so we're going to come out of, we're going to leave here and go into in-camera, and we'll resume at 8:20. So we'll take a moment break to get there. Thank you very much.